Ladies and gentlemen, we here at Sparta would like to thank Leatherneck Heating and Cooling for sponsoring both our pre-show tonight and our Tale of the Tape. We would also like to thank Breckenridge Distillery for sponsoring and helping us put together the VIP area and also sponsoring our lovely ring girls tonight. But our fourth bout on the card, ladies and gentlemen, is scheduled for three-minute rounds in the Bantamweight division and will be held under MMA rules. Introducing first, fighting out of the Brandon Dodge red corner and making his way down the Hulk Addicts runway, please welcome Mace Sellars.
All right, everybody, now we're getting back to some amateur MMA action. We have Mace Sellars coming in out of Elevation Fight Team.
Gotta love that elevation action. When you see an elevation fighter, and Miranda still hasn't met all her teammates.
That's funny.
So Miranda Maverick, we talked about it during the pre-show. She said, I haven't met some of these guys yet. I can't wait.
Meet them on the runway.
Don't have to say a whole lot about Elevation Fight Team and what they're doing. And by the way, I am headed to Phoenix next week to watch the highlight, Justin Gaethje.
Outstanding, and Thug Rose Numianis.
Oh yeah, that's a good card.
Oh,
Tony Ferguson fighting as well.
Two Colorado fighters fighting for a title on the same night. Oh, UFC, you started here in Denver, and Colorado's still representing strong.
Yeah, how about that? It is home state of Arizona, man. That's going to be off the chain. Mace Sellars is a kickboxer as well. His skills coming into this, you will see he can kick. 2-2 as a kickboxer. Fought a little bit of Muay Thai, but kickboxing is where he gets it done. Now MMA.
Kickboxing in 4-ounce gloves. It's a tough way to make a living.
He's ready to roll.
And his opponent, fighting out of the Larry H. Miller Volkswagen of Lakewood blue corner, please welcome Dustin Sanchez.
Have Dustin, the Gladiator Sanchez, who has been a veteran of Sparta, fighting in the August 2020 card, fighting out of Top Notch Gym, and honoring U.S. Army service member Buddy Sparks.
So another top-notch fighter.
Yep.
Man, talk about two great gyms getting in the cage.
Yeah.
Oh my.
And JR, we saw him fight up in Wyoming again. Thank you to the folks in Wyoming. We spent, well, what, a year and a half there?
Year and a half, 2 years, yeah.
Before we got back into Colorado, listen, wasn't for Wyoming, we'd have been bummed out. We wouldn't have had any fights. Here's the tale of the tape, JR, go for it.
Mace Sellars, 22 years old versus the 26-year-old elder in Dustin Sanchez. 5'8" for Sellars versus 5'6" for Sanchez. It's the debut for Sellars versus the 1-0 fighter in Sanchez. Both list MMA as their style.
Again, Leatherneck Heating and Cooling, sponsor of Tale of the Tape for Sparta's AVM 13. And again, Mace Sellars may be having a debut, but he's been in the cage, been in the ring before, kickboxing. We'll see how that transfers, and obviously, he's got a gym full of killers that he trains with.
Yeah, the proverbial not his first rodeo. And speaking of gym full of killers, looks like in his corner tonight, Justin J. Train Gonzalez got his start here in Colorado with Sparta, and now we're watching him on the big stage of Bellator.
See a familiar face in that corner, don't we?
Yes, indeed.
J-Train, Justin Gonzalez. He's a featherweight as well. Number 9 in Bellator, came off a split decision victory on the Big Island of Oahu. Should have been unanimous.
Ladies and gentlemen, this Bantamweight MMA bout is presented by Earthwood Custom Cabinets. Let's meet the fighters. First, fighting out of the Brandon Dodge red corner. He stands 5 feet 8 inches tall, weighing in at 134.8 pounds. He fights out of Aurora, Colorado, introducing Mace Sellars. And his opponent, fighting out of the Larry H. Miller Volkswagen of Lakewood blue corner. He stands 5 feet 6 inches tall, weighing in at 135 pounds. He is fighting in honor of U.S. Army veteran Bubba Sparks, and he fights out of Greeley, Colorado, introducing Dustin the Gladiator Sanchez.
This should be a good one, JR.
Agreed.
Fighters, you'll be giving your instructions. Let's keep it clean. Protect yourselves at all times and obey my commands. If you want to touch gloves, touch now. Go back to your corners. Let's do this.
I think J-Train told me they got 4 or 5 fighters going tonight. He'll be cornering.
Sellars in the white trunks, Sanchez in the black trunks. Cage doors locked. We're off with 135-pound MMA action.
Let's do this.
Speed, technique, precision, and cardio for days here in this division.
Something you and I can no longer do is cardio for days. Hey, these boys are not wasting time tonight. There's no feeling out period. Going for the shot early.
So we know Sanchez wants to put it on the ground right away.
Sellars doing his best to fend that off. He's got his arm up underneath, trying to prevent him so he can't get his arms around.
Yeah, working the overhook on one side, underhook on the other. They call it 50-50. He's trying to pull up with that left hand, actually trying to fish it through right now. And Sanchez committed to the takedown, wants to get the hips off the cage, pull his opponent in toward him, and then pendulum him into the ground.
Well, he better be in shape right now because he's wasting or using, I'm not saying wasting, using a lot of energy, JR, to get that takedown. Been unable to do it and still unable to do it. He's got the single leg.
Great balance by Sellars. Sanchez not able to get his hands clasped together. He wants to put his hands together so that he can control both legs as one, which makes it easier to disrupt your opponent's balance. Now trying to work a foot sweep into it is Sanchez. Good job switching off the technique, but Sellars just having really nice defense here tonight.
And we'll see how this plays out as this fight goes on, because if he doesn't get this takedown, even if he does, how much gas is out of that tank trying to get that takedown?
And now trying another technique. Sanchez reaches down.
Still can't get it.
Looking for the ankle pick. Doesn't get it. Sellars just really showing superlative balance here.
He also came up with that knee, so that's the second knee that Sellars landed.
So Sellars with his opponent against the cage now, and I like how Sellars stays busy there when he's got his opponent against the cage, and Sanchez starts throwing some knees of his own, working to the legs of Sellars.
Yeah, these guys have been right in each other's kitchens all fight long, trying to get something to work. A couple of evenly matched fighters as far as strength. You've seen them switch back and forth up against the cage. Right now, Sanchez again trying to get that thing done and trying to get the takedown and trying to get the second leg.
Again, trying to clasp his hands together, and he did a nice job of positioning his foot for a moment so that Sellars was unable to split his legs apart and keep distance from getting the double leg. But then eventually Sellars able to defeat that technique, gets his legs apart, and again keeps Sanchez from scoring the double.
Sanchez right in his own corner. You see J-Train talking to him right now, giving him instructions. I'm telling you, he better be in great shape, because this is a lot of energy for both fighters, JR.
That is a lot of work being put out, especially by Sanchez, because Sellars is doing a really nice job of leaning over onto his opponent, making him carry his weight during those takedown attempts. Oh, and that leg kick, or that body kick rather, just thudded across the arena. And a series of knees by Sellars. Back to Muay Thai with Sellars in there.
Yeah, Sellars is trying to bring that neck down when he's doing it. Sanchez surviving this round, but you see Sellars come out a little bit fresher there. We'll see what the adjustments are in the corner. I'm looking at Sanchez right now, and he's a little gassed right now.
Yeah, and in the amateur division, you are not allowed to knee to the head of your opponent, so that's why Sellars worked all of his knees to the body. For those of you watching on pay-per-view, maybe not familiar with Colorado rules, sometimes you look at that and you think, oh man, he had a clear shot to his face. Well, no, not so much. Checking things out on the replay here. They're fighting at a little bit of distance, and bam, that was the body kick that Sellars landed that just reverberated throughout the arena. They were on the opposite side of the cage of you and I, but we could hear that one. And then Sellars goes off with just a flurry of Muay Thai style knee strikes there. Lands really nice. Sanchez, end of the round, shows he's still in the game by firing back by way of defense.
Got that overhand right, but you saw him a little more tired. We'll see if that minute break gave him a little bit more gas in the tank, JR, and what his strategy is, because he hasn't been able to get it to the ground.
And interesting in that Sellars did so well on the stand-up, because I looked at the T-shirts of both of his cornermen, and they both said jiu-jitsu.
Huh. All right, here we go. Sanchez coming forward. Let's see where his gas tank is. Oh, he takes a snap kick right to the front of the jaw,
nice
and then a
to
left.
The face, and again.
Oh, Sanchez fires back with a shot of his own.
Sellars just really getting off with his striking this evening.
Yep. Sellars again with that front kick that lands.
Sellars finding a lot of different targets tonight too. Not content to try and do just one thing.
Nope, Sanchez again trying to bring this to the ground. I think he thinks that's his best attribute. But JR, he's been within an inch of clasping his hands, and Sellers' legs are so strong, he's not allowing him to do it.
It's the proverbial oh so close.
Finally got him down.
So Sanchez got him down, see if he's able to keep him there. Yep, solidifies the takedown, but an immediate triangle set up by Sellers.
Got to be careful with that. Able to slip out of it.
Really nice pass by Sanchez. Sanchez showing us why he wanted this fight on the ground.
Sanchez needs to get this round as well because he lost round one. He wants to get this round even or finish it if he can here in the corner.
And Sellers showing his wiriness off of his back, trying to set up a choke off of his back there, but Sanchez wise to it. Starting to thread in the anaconda as Sanchez is going to try to roll him over, then walk his hips toward his opponent. Sellers knows that's exactly what Sanchez needs to do.
Sellers
so he's just going to keep
away.
skirting around with him.
Yep, skirting is a great adverb or adjective as he's trying to get away from him by spinning or scooting away from him. Sanchez still has that locked in, and both these guys are putting everything out there, JR, and they got to have something left for round three if it gets there. There's still a minute left in round two.
That was actually a subjunctive pronoun, but
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it is. I caught it afterwards. He's got the guillotine in, Sanchez does, but he's not in position really to take advantage of it.
Yeah, doesn't even have his hands clasped,
No.
I don't think. I think his right hand is working defense on the hip of Sellers. Wants to try to keep Sellers from being able to come all the way through and do a knee slice or guard pass, bring that right leg in and see if he can end up in full mount.
And this is going to be a tough round to call because Sanchez finally did a stick-to-itiveness getting the takedown, but now he finds himself on bottom with 29 seconds left in this fight. In this round.
So let's see what Sellers is able to offer up off the top. Not a single strike thrown on the ground here yet, interestingly enough.
Listen, both fighters showing they've got to be well-rounded in this sport. You can't just do one thing. You can be successful a little bit, but not long-term. 10-second clacker, still no punches thrown on the ground here.
Sanchez, nice job regaining full guard, able to keep himself a little bit safer by way of defense there, but not able to offer up a whole lot of offense. I'm going to go with Sellers taking that round. He had the good striking early on when it did hit the ground. Sanchez didn't really threaten deep with any submissions. There was no ground and pound, and then Sellers did get the reversal and spend a portion of his time on top too.
I think that's the key. If you would have seen Sanchez maintain control, JR, I think he would have taken the round. But the fact that he was able to get the reversal, get back control at the end of the round, even though he didn't land any strikes on the ground, I believe that round goes to him as well.
Checking it out here on the replay when it finally did go to the ground by way of Sanchez being committed to that takedown for so very long. Sellers immediately tries to set up the triangle choke. Sanchez, great job with his defense, able to work his way around to the side control for a while, and then as we just talked about, Sellers able to take some control toward the end of the round.
Well, we've got a fight going to the third round, JR. Took the fourth fight of the night to get there. Let's say Sellers looks a little fresh. Let's see what happens in this third round. Sanchez has got to bring it. He goes with the jab.
And for as much energy as Sanchez has had to put out, he looks surprisingly fresh coming off the stool in the third.
Yeah, and he's going to the strikes now, JR. He knows he's got to do something with it.
Sellers gets the Muay Thai plump. I saw his corner in between rounds telling him they wanted to try to keep it in the middle of the cage, and that'll help keep Sanchez from getting the takedown as easily. Not that it has been easy, but harder to get it out in space in the middle of the cage.
I'll tell you what, Sellers has shown incredible balance and defense when you've got it. And I know this is a good wrestler because of who he trains with.
Sanchez tries to scoop him up, wants to get those hips off the cage, and again, just like literally millimeters from having those hands clasped.
Yep. Just sinking in. Sellars sinks in low and is making it extremely difficult in the third round to stick with this. We talked about it in round one, how much time that cost him, JR.
Yeah, it's hard to score a lot of points in the judge's eyes when you're stuck trying to effect a takedown. Of course, you're going to get rewarded for it if you get the takedown, but when you have somebody like Sellars that has such stellar defense.
And again, a gym of killers that Sellars deals with on a daily basis as well, and he's showing that low center of gravity. And right now, Sanchez is running out of time, JR. He's got about $128 left in this fight.
Yeah, takedown defense-wise, Sellars not really making any mistakes, I got to say that.
No, I'd like to see right now, I'd like to see Sanchez let go and just come up with an elbow, come up with, you know, with an uppercut, something.
Sellars very calm, looking over to his corner, taking instructions. They wanted him to turn off the cage. He did. Let's see if he gets some knees in, and there's one.
Yep, there's one, and that's what he was doing in the first round. After Sanchez had spent a little bit of energy, now Sellars goes to the lower level, and Sanchez is gassed. You can see in his face.
You can tell he's a little bit tired there. Not quite all the way down on the takedown. Doesn't have his butt down on the canvas yet. See if Sellars is able to rip those legs out. Then he's probably going to try to entwine the legs with a figure four and see if he can't just crawl his way up and keep Sanchez a little more on his back.
You know, this will be a learning experience for Sanchez, and one of the learning experiences, when you see in the first round how good his defense is now he's got both hooks in, does Sellars.
Sellars did transition to back control there. Pulled his opponent off the cage so he could thread in the second hook.
Got the figure
working
four
the body
in.
triangle now.
Yep.
And Sanchez relegated to pure defense here as the round's coming to an end.
And again, this is going to be a learning experience for Sanchez because I have Sellars winning this fight probably by unanimous decision. But listen, you spent so much time trying to get that takedown, and that's maybe what a young fighter does. Goes to what his strength is, JR, and when it doesn't work, he doesn't know where to go.
And just confident that if he does get the takedown, things are going to go in his favor. So
absolutely.
You can't really fault him for wanting to take it down there, but Sellars feeling that he has the win, and you and I are both in agreement on that.
Yeah, I think the one thing, too, this is a fight where both fighters get a lot of great experience. I mean, you came in and we were wondering what they were going to do as Mason. This was his debut in MMA.
Yeah.
But again, all week long during practice, who do you got up there at Elevation?
Yeah, room full of killers. And we're checking out the replay where Sellars was able to get back control. You know, Sanchez wanted the takedown so desperately for so long, and Sellars was finally able to get it late in the third and just able to really control position. Sanchez didn't have an answer other than to make sure that he didn't get submitted.
Yeah, so. Sparta Media Group, the sponsor of this replay. But again, a great learning experience. You see this, you see that Sanchez has talent, but I'm telling you, I looked at Sellars' legs, man, and he was low center of gravity. Yep. He just did a great job all fight long.
A couple of really well-coached fighters.
Absolutely. Top-notch is a great gym as well.
Big Mo walking past us here. He's got
Big Mo's got the card, I think, doesn't he?
Got the official word.
He's smiling back at us. You're not making it up, are you, Mo?
This is the guy that totals the scores, and then the second to know is always Big Mo.
Don't ask me for any math.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 full rounds, we go to the judges' scorecard for the official decision. Judge Abeda and Judge Ramirez scored 30-27, while Judge Mason scores it 29-28, declaring your winner by unanimous decision, Mace Sellars.
Congratulations to the Elevation Fight Team fighter. Earns himself a post-fight interview with Miranda.
Not a bad thing.
So did you expect that fight to give you that much of a challenge, all 3 of those rounds?
I knew he was a tough kid. I saw his last fight, but I worked too hard for this. I had too many people come out. I wasn't gonna lose tonight.
Absolutely. We saw in the first round, you almost got the finish. A lot of people probably think if you had a few more seconds, you would have had it. Then in the second round, we saw you have a little bit of a challenge in the grappling, but you turned it around in those last few seconds. Was that one of the goals of the fight camp, or what was the game plan coming in here?
I tried going for a silly submission. Probably shouldn't have in the second, but for my first MMA fight, I'm happy about it.
Yeah, for sure. Good job. Congratulations. I think everybody found it exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I just gotta dedicate this fight to my friend who was murdered in 2020, Benny Nadine, and then also to my grandpa who's not doing too well. I went through a lot going up to this, and I'm really glad I got the win for both of them.
Absolutely. Thank you and good job. Good work. Congratulations.
Well, certainly emotional for him, and that is another fight in the books as that one went to the judges' scorecards. Mace Sellars picks up the victory. We'll be back at AVM 13 at the Budweiser Event Center.
Women's MMA action up next.